the next thing we are going to do is to have the computed. So we are going to compute the total results of the pages. So we are going to have the total compute, that is, we are going to have the page count, whereby we are going to check the total results. In other words, we are going to return a particular math function here that is called math.cell into, we are going to check this dot total results divided by this. So now we are dividing the total results divided by the maximum page, so that now it can return to us the number of page per the articles that are being pulled into our application. So that is what is happening in this particular part. So now here, let's go to the methods. So let's define two methods here. Now the first method here is the nav2. So the nav2 is linking us with a particular URL, and the URL here should be the one that is taking us to the particular page that is to be opened, and this one should have .open and then the URL of the particular website that we are in. So that's what is happening here. So we have a method nav2 URL window.open to open to us the particular page, particular news article that is coming from a particular website. The next thing here, we'll have to reset the data. Okay, so we are going to reset this dot current page, which we are giving it 1. So the current page together with the articles is going to return to us in other words, we are now checking the page. Which page are we? The current page. So we are returning the current page, which is 1, and then the articles from that particular page that we have. So now the next thing we'll need now to do here, now we'll need to fetch the news articles. So using fetch, we should fetch the news. So we have the function, the fetch search news that we defined earlier. So this one is going to search, we are going to give a logic here. Now the fetch search news is going to have the logic of we're going to give it a URL, which is a query string, in whereby the person is going to search a particular word within the search bar, and then it should return to us the particular results that we need. So we are going to check here if this dot search word is not equal to this particular string. Let me give it single, this particular string, then it should render the particular it should do this particular condition. So now if this dot search word is not equal to the particular query string, then let it have this dot app URL is equals to, now remember here we are going to give the string from the news API.org, that is from here. So what we are doing here, we are going to give the query string. In other words, we are now on the function of the search news. So we are just searching any news randomly within our application, and then the article should be returned. So now we are having this, which presents the current variable that we are using. So now let's have this dot search word. So we are going to have it's going to return for us the page size. So it return for us the page size, which equal to, and then you close with single, and then it's also going to return the max per page. That is it. And then here is going to, so this one we have been, let us write it somewhere there. So here it's going to return also for us the, so we are giving it the and keyword. It's also going to return for us the API key equals to, and then it's also going to, so we are linking this to this API key, so that this is what it's doing. So here we are simply saying if the search keyword, if the current search keyword is not equal to the particular query string, then return for us the URL which has the search keyword together with the page size, the API key. So now we're going to set this to have busy to true. So here we are going to set this to this dot busy is busy. Remember this function. So we are going to set this one to true, and then we are also going to reset the data using our function there, and then we are also going to have the function fetch. Now these functions, what they are doing is that they are, it's fetching the data. It's automatically fetching for us the data from the server, as well as resetting it within our application. So that this is what is happening. So now what we need to do here, remember these are if statement, or else we are going to fetch the top news if we do not get the current news that we need. So this is what is happening in this particular part. All right, so what is happening here is that if we do not get this particular query string, now let me just pull this query string so that we're able to see what's happening here. Okay, so now this is the query string so that we are having. I've just pulled it from the news API. So once you get to sign up for the API key, it will simply be generated. Now so what we are saying here is that if the search keyword is not equal to this query string, which now should return for us the page size and the API key together with the maximum per page, then set this one to be busy to be true, reset the data, or as well fetch the particular articles that we need, or else let it fetch the top news article. So the next thing we need to do here, now we need to fetch the top news. Remember now, if that doesn't work, then it should fetch for us the top news. So this should be, so now let us give the logic of this, whereby it should fetch for us the top news. So what we are giving here is that we are going to have this API. I'm going to say API URL is equals to the particular string, which is going to give us the top news. So let me just first write this plus the country from where the articles are coming from, and then just like we did in the fetch search news. So here we are going to get the page size. We're going to get the page size, and then we are getting the max per page. We are also getting the API key. So the API key, and then this we are linking it to, that is, we are getting the API. So this API. So guys, hope you are understanding up to there what is just happening. So now here we are fetching the top news, and then we are now saying this API URL, else let's go to the top to fetch the top news. So we are now getting the API URL of the top news. So let me get this particular URL. So now this is the particular, this is now the news from the news API. So once you register for the API key, you are going to get, you can either search for the random news articles from the different websites use your API, or else you can just have in your, for example, you are now to fetch the top news, you can just go and get this URL, which is going to link for you the particular top headline news that are currently trending. So this is what you can do. So we are just like we did in the earlier. So this is what we are doing in this particular code. Okay, so now since we had set the other one to have busy true, so this one we're also going to do a similar thing. So now what we are doing here, we're going to have this dot is busy. So we are going to set this to true. We're going to set that to true, and then we're also going to set, now here we're introducing the search word. We are going to say let, so now this is to empty, we are setting that one to empty string. So the next thing will be the search. We are going to give this dot reset. So just like we did with the other one. So we are going to have this dot reset, which is going to reset the particular data to its original state, and then we are going to have the fetch that data, and then this is also going to do the same thing. So this is what is happening in this. Now once we are now done with the fetch top news, so this is what is going to be returned: the size, the API, and as well the current the maximum, the pages, the maximum pages within a particular article. That's what is happening here. So now we are going to have a next method, and that is fetch data. Now this method is going to perform the fetch data for us from the particular server. So we are going to have a local variable, let request be equal to new request, which is now going to get for us the API URL. So this should be API URL, then with the page. So here we're going to have the page. So we are going to add this dot current page. Okay, and then what else are we having? Now we also have another function we're going to give here. So fetch for us the request, in other words, the request for us the pages, and then we're going to use keyword then, which is going to, should be single. Now this one is going to return the response, which is going to have our JSON content. So now this one is response, which is linking us to, in other words, return the response of the JSON content. And then let's close that with another one. So what this function will do, it will just return the body as a JSON content. So that's what we are now getting here. Now the next thing we'll need to do here, since now we are returning the JSON content within our website, we're going to have the then keyword, which now is going to, since the first one is getting the data, so this other one is, we are passing the data that we need to get from within our article. So this one is going to return this dot total results, which is equal to data dot total results again. And then here we are going to return the articles. So data dot articles dot for each. The for each is looping and getting for us the particular articles that we need, using whereby we are now passing an element within our code. So let me just explain this in a second so that you may get what's happening here. So now what this code here is doing, data.articles for each element is going to return for us, is going to get and return for us articles as an array. So this is what is going to happen. It's going to return for us the number of articles that we need. So now the next one here, we need to have dot articles. Sorry, this is, so we are having articles there. So we are returning articles and pushing them. So we are having element, and then you just close that one. So now here we are getting the articles and then pushing them into our application. So let's set this one to be, it's busy. We're going to set it to be false. So we are setting this one to be false, and then the next one is, we are going to have the show loader, which is going to, we are also going to set it to be false. So we are setting this one to be false of this. So this is what is, this should just be like that. So this is what is happening. So we are setting the show loader to be false so that it can load the particular articles from into our website. So this is what is happening. Now the next thing we need to do here, we need to set this to have we need to catch any error. So here we are going to have our catch statement, which is going to catch any error, brackets there. So this is going to catch any error that is coming, and then we are now having the console.log. So this one is going to log the error in our website. So guys, hope you understand enough to there. In case you have any question, just comment them below, so that in case you don't understand in any place, I can follow up with you and give more on this. But what we are now doing here, we are now if there are any errors in our application, so this is what is going to do, it's going to return. So if there are any errors in our application, then the console.log is going to log for us the errors. So now the next thing, we are now finishing up with this particular statement. So now we are going to have function here, and this is the scroll trigger that we defined in our earlier template. I guess you can remember it. We defined it here, the infinite scroll trigger, and then we gave it a particular class and also gave it a founder sum of spin. So this one is what now we are going to implement in this particular JavaScript code. So what we are going to do here, we are going to have scroll trigger. We are going to define it within a variable that is observer. I'm going to give it a new intersection. So I'll just explain as we go what this particular code is doing. So here we are passing a variable called entries, and as well we are give as well. Now now what is happening here, we are now defining a constant observer. Now what is an observer? Observer is a variable that will enable for us, it will enable us to load the content directly when the user scrolls without turning the page. So we are going to see this one in action. So let's just continue, and then probably you get to understand it more. So we are going to have a for each, which is going to take in the entry, and then here we have we're going to have that. Now here we're going to have an if, which is going to check if entry dot intersection ratio. So now remember, these are JavaScript predefined methods. So it's going to get for us our current page, and then if current page is less to the page count, then what should it do? So we are going to have an opening here. So let it render this, the show loader, which we are now setting it to be true. As well, we are now going to set the current page. Let me just explain this in a second. The next thing is fetch data, and then here we have that. So now this is what is happening here. So what is happening here is that we want to implement the scroll trigger, which is going to enable us to scroll the page and enable us to have the elements loaded directly in our website without the user having to turn to different pages. So now what we are doing here, the observer will enable us to prevent any loading of our images that are lazy, in terms of the images are loading slowly, or probably they are not coming in. So that's what the observer is doing. So this one should be greater than 0, so that will eliminate that error. So that is what it's doing. So now the next one is, we are just closing this one with also a bracket, and as well, let's put it there. Okay, so now that is what is happening in that particular session. So now we are also setting the observer to observe, and we are giving it this keyword dot the $sign reference dot ifnet. So we are referencing the ifnet scroll trigger. So this should be scroll trigger. Okay, and then what are we doing here? Let's close this one, and as well let's close this one with another one. So now what we are doing, we are now getting the ifnet scroll trigger, which is going to enable us to scroll without having to turn to another page. So simply we are just implementing the scroll trigger to enable us to scroll in our page without having to create another without having to turn into other pages. So lastly, we are going to have the created keyword within our website. So we are going to have that, and then we are going to have this dot fetch top news. So in other words, now we are now lastly calling our view functionality, that is create keyword, so that it can now implement the particular functions that we have defined. And then lastly, we call the mounted function, so that now mountain is going to request and fetch for us the data and render it in our website. So we're going to have here, we are going to give the scroll trigger so that it can now implement the scrolling within our pages. So that is what is happening here. So lastly, we should have, let's just put it that way, probably let it have, so that now this is what is happening. So let us eliminate this too, and I think we are good to go. So now guys, this is what is happening within our scripting tag. So maybe I can just, so what is the scroll trigger here? As we have said, simply this labeling us to prevent the giving us the functionality of if net scroll trigger, whereby we can scroll within our articles without having to turn to another page. So that's what is happening there.